So I'm going to officially begin this meeting of the Environmental and Sustainability Committee at 12:04. I thought that more people would be joining us. I heard someone from Quincy was coming. Scans was going to be, I think Jay might be representing Scans. But we're here, so and I believe people's time is very important. So we're here to talk about the Urban Woodlands Ordinance, and I think last night Alex actually was going to be here, but he just sent the staff an email saying that he couldn't be here. I guess something must have come up. But last night we talked about a grant that the forestry department just got, which was very exciting because in it mentioned the urban woodlands in our city, which is what we are here trying to protect. So I know that Ken is working on the ordinance, right?
Yeah.
And we are looking to find out, like Ken was talking about, how it's going to be implemented, because we don't want to just have an ordinance and then nobody's able to continue it. So I was hoping that Alice could be here so that we could have that more of that conversation, but he's not able to. So I think that's
I didn't feel like getting dressed, like I have dressed.
what's his name?
Not the inside.
Counselor Allen. So Jen, thank you for being here. And Counselor Allen just walked in. And so that's what we're talking about. Again, because Alex is not here, I thought that he would be, I know that we were going to be talking to the commission about, possibly helping us with the ordinance. And I know that Tim is going to be scheduling a meeting with them, right, Miss Counselor Allen?
Well, I mean, if there's a need for it, but the idea was to have them come here,
Right.
just jump on the train.
So, but were they invited? Do I
Yeah.
know? So they're not here.
I talked to Chris Collins on Friday. He said he'd invite Adam, who's the guy. And I had these guys email them today, the link.
Okay.
And I copied Phil Dromey, he reports to him, so
Right,
nobody said, yes, I will be there.
right.
Chris said he would reach out to Adam and have Adam attend.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe what we might want to do then is save ourselves some time. If we're not here with the people that we need to be here, we'll have to reschedule the meeting.
Was that the purpose of the meeting?
Well, we want to continue the conversation. We
Yeah.
can't have a conversation if they're not here.
Right. Right, but other people aren't here either, is it?
Right. Alex,
Alex.
I wanted Alex to be here, so he's not here. Jay, would you like to comment on anything? I'm not sure if you're available to.
Good evening, Counselor Govan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Excuse me, good afternoon, everyone. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Yes, I'm here and I'm able to participate until about 12:30 p.m. So I definitely agree with what Attorney Shea is just diligently trying to remind us all the fact that the best way to develop an ordinance is to develop one that is easy to understand, is enforceable by law, and is aligned with the resources of the city so that it can be implemented.
Mhm.
So I do agree that I guess one of the hot potatoes that we are still kind of passing around with this is, how do we determine which city departments, are granted the authority for enforcement of this? And there are a number of different departments that, at least on paper, make sense. And then I agree with Attorney Shea that based on resources and budget, that one department or multiple departments might make more sense than others. I will say this, I'm sure there's more than one ordinance in the city of Springfield that I can think of that was written into law without a plan for a budget. So that doesn't deter me that much, but I do think that at an appropriate point in time, when we've got what we think is our best possible plan, it certainly makes sense to go to the mayor and their administration so that they can be aware that, this is something that the council intends to put forward, and that this is, what we think is the best path for, how to enforce it and how to implement it, and to get some ideas on how it might be funded in future years' budgets. It's a really important ordinance, and so I think it's worth the conversation, because I'm confident that the administration will similarly see the value in looking at this. So I would say beyond that, I'm looking forward to reviewing a draft when it's ready, um, and that might be an appropriate time to kind of bring everyone in the room, or at least representatives of all the departments, folks that want to work to, getting to a yes versus getting to a no. I think that will be really useful, because I'm sure in all of our collective research, we found that in different municipalities, there's been different solutions as to how to fund, how to enforce, and how to implement. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much. That was good.
Yeah, I think one that you make a good point, and that would be that if we can have a draft of the ordinance, but maybe someone could contact, there's a number of towns in the state that have similar ordinance, and maybe the first thing we ought to do is to see how are they monitoring that. To me, it would make sense that whoever runs this ought to come out of the forestry department. The forestry department knows forestry, and to slide it over to conservation, which is a piece of the planning department, the planning people are not experts on trees, but the forestry department is. So it would seem that that's the umbrella. I would think that's the umbrella to put it under. But I think if we reached out to some of the other communities and say, you put this on the books, how did you get the thing going? I'm sure they didn't create a whole department all at once. It probably grew gradually, a staff person at a time as they went along, but that might be something we ought to research as we're going forward, is to see how did others implement this, because this is an expansion beyond what Alex does, managing all the trees in the park department and the tree belt. So I think that's a good point that you've made, Juan, and I think maybe this might be the juncture where we at least get some of that in.
Of the ordinance and be able to sit down with everyone,
Right.
right? Because right now, Alex,
So sorry about that.
that's all right. Okay, so we're back in the meeting. Sorry about that, people. So Ken, you were saying you could get us
I'll
the
get you a
draft,
draft,
right?
but you gotta give me a little bit of time, because now the council's back in full speed and I've got, 5 or 6 things on my plate. But how soon were you thinking? I mean,
I want-
could get,
Do you think we could get it like within the next month?
okay, I was thinking
I
at
was gonna
least
say a
4
week,
weeks. Yeah,
but-
okay. Well,
Okay, so within
So-
the next month, but then that way, I think that will give us time to maybe reach out to some of the other communities, ask them how they've
Right,
done some of the
right.
things. And then the next meeting, hopefully bring in the forestry department, the planning department, and see who might be able and willing. It could be a collaborative effort, right?
well.
Somehow, but we don't have to figure that out.
No, we
today.
don't. We don't have to, and it's not my job to.
No.
Push around what department here and there. I'm just saying that the expertise really is over here, and that's where I would think you'd want to concentrate.
Right, now,
We wouldn't give this to the health department because they don't,
No.
you know what I'm saying?
well, it
Put it-
does affect people.
Well, I understand. I knew you were gonna say that. The minute I say that, she's gonna come back at me.
It
But you
does.
understand what I'm saying.
I do, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, no problem. So,
Read your mind now.
oh, almost
You're
Ken.
reading mine too.
I
so.
am reading your mind. So, okay, so Ken, in about 1 month, we'll have a draft of the ordinance,
Yeah.
1 month. And I think I'm gonna ask for some help with reaching out to the other
Yeah,
communities.
Get some of the others. to do
Maybe
that,
I can get
because-
scans to reach out. Mana, I think might be willing to do
Yeah.
that. So 1 month, a draft of the ordinance and information on how other communities
Right.
On other communities, okay, on how they implemented this, okay, perfect. All right, so that's
I
great.
look at everything through a legal lens, and you may not
Right.
want to do that
Yeah,
because
we don't care about
we-
legal,
well,
only kidding, only.
all we do is look for the problems.
Right.
Don't look for the
We don't need to
solution.
do that anymore, Ken.
Oh, I do. That's because otherwise we get down there, and say, how come you didn't point that out? to us?"
Right, now, so a month would be about October 15th.
Okay.
And I know people have been saying about maybe having this meeting later in the afternoon. Maybe 4, is 5 o'clock too late for you, Ken?
Not too late for me.
Maybe I'll do it at
Uh,
5.
Earlier, yeah, I don't know.
I know, only because the community's asking, and then a lot of things happen, people like Amy's is something came up at her school. So 10, 15, 24. What do you think about the time, counselor?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I'm
Mm.
later is usually better, but
Okay, I'm gonna say 5 o'clock for that meeting, just because the community has requested.
Is that,
Yeah, I would
is that
say-
that's not a city council day, is it?
It's not, I don't think so. I don't have a city council meeting that day.
No, I mean, it's not a Monday, that would.
No,
be
it's
the-
not a Monday.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday. All right, so I'll ask Sean to put that on the books. And by that time, we will have a draft and we're gonna reach out to the other communities like Ken suggested to see how they implemented their program. And I'm gonna see if I can ask Scans to help us out with that, reaching out.
okay.
All right,
So
but
you're gonna, are you doing a draft for that day? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that'll give them enough
So,
time.
you know, like I wasn't really part of this at the beginning. I mean, I've kind of been around it, but what is the gist of what's the,
It's basically mimics, I've looked at Newton, I've looked at a number of the towns in
Boston,
Boston, and I'm gonna
mhm.
sort of mimic the Boston one.
to accomplish what? What?
Well, so you got a plan of what would the ordinance be?
No, I understand, but what is the ordinance?
So the
To
ordinance
to
is,
just
you know
plan,
how solar farms are okay, so
Yep.
anybody that wants to put a solar farm out will get a permission from the state and they could come in and knock down a whole
Yep.
forest of trees in our city. So what our ordinance does is kind of like puts a pause on that and
Mhm.
says, well, before you do that, you have to come, get a
Well-
permit or something like that, right?
These ordinances that are in place deal with the removal of trees. It
Right.
doesn't mean, it's not a forest, it deals with an actual residential, any place there's a tree on private property. Someone wants to take the tree down and it's a certain site, they have to get a permit.
Well, that already is in place here in the
We
city.
don't have it quite on private property. We have it on public property. And if it's considered a major tree, you've got to go get permission.
Right,
But
so,
if I got a little 8-foot tree on my lot, I can take that tree down.
right, but this is
That's
for,
how these
because of-
things all work.
this came about from the solar farm that's being put up on Allen Street, right? Because they knocked down,
might be getting something.
might be, yeah, I hope not.
Well, this ordinance would cover that because
Right,
it
so
goes
that's
from
what
one
we're
tree to
covering.
any number of trees.
Right,
So-
and maybe what we might wanna do is, on one tree in somebody's backyard, I don't think that will make a big difference. Maybe just to that
Well,
person.
when
That's
you
where-
look
that's
at
where we're
the-
gonna get
When you look
pushback,
at the
though.
ordinances,
Right.
that's what they do.
Right,
But it covers one tree, it covers anything on private property,
okay.
whether it's one tree or you want an acre of trees.
And then maybe what we might wanna, we don't have to do it that way. We could say it could be more than because the thing is, we want to
Well,
protect.
I think
our-
when we get the
air.
draft, now you can start to. you can
Exactly.
Say, well, wait a minute, well, let's do this.
Right.
But let me give you a draft of what the other places are doing,
Right, and then we can
then-
tweak it,
and then you can do
Because
whatever
I
tweaking
agree.
you wanna do.
on people, like my backyard. I have maybe 50 trees back there.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah,
And if I wanna cut 2 or 3 of them down, that won't make that much difference
we'll
for
under
the
this ordinance,
environment.
the way the ordinances are written.
Exactly, so we might wanna tweak it, because it's true, people's backyard, but my thing is a lot of trees,
Okay.
because we don't wanna knock down a whole bunch of trees, replace it with a solar farm, and we're not getting any benefit, cause
So-
it's net zero.
One other thing, the one in Boston, I'm not sure about the others, exempts out single family homes owner occupied and up to 2 and 3 family homes owner occupied.
That might be something
Okay.
we could do, yeah.
Remember that's in Boston and most of those homes, just like Springfield, are on small lots.
Okay.
But as you get out into the suburbs and Springfield has suburban areas
Mhm.
like your backyard,
Mhm.
you're not a 50 by 100 backyard evidently, or if you are, you got a lot of trees on it. So
That was an
there's
empty
a
lot
gray
with
area.
a lot of trees.
Right, you know what I'm
Right up in
saying?
the inner city.
So we have to look at that.
No,
So
yeah, absolutely.
let's get
But that-
something in
that-
front of you and then
exactly.
you can,
So
you
we
guys
wanna
can
get a
go to work
draft.
and do whatever you're gonna do.
We want to get a draft and then we want to know how they implemented it. So then we could maybe make some.
So I'll
tweaks
give
for
you
our city.
basically what people are doing.
Okay,
And then if you want to expand or contract from that,
all right.
then you
So-
can do that.
Jay, we lost you or did you go out?
I'm back, Counselor Govan. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was frozen for a little bit, but I did just hear the last part that Attorney Shea just said, and I did want to say that I can go back to Amy and the rest of the group at Scans and see if we could try to, break up the work of reaching out to some of these, at least in Massachusetts, some of these other municipalities that have something similar to what we've put together to see, administratively how they're managing the work. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll learn about, some grants, at the state level that they've applied for, that might address some of the funding concerns about staff and personnel. Or maybe we'll just learn, is there a consistent approach to how folks are managing the implementation of it? So I'll take that back to Amy
Perfect.
and the rest of Scans and see how we might split that up.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Jay. And when you went off, we did schedule our next meeting for October 15th at 5 p.m. Because I know a lot of the Scans members and MANA wanted a later meeting because of the work that they're doing. So we're gonna meet, our next meeting is gonna be on October 15th at 5 p.m. And we're gonna have a draft of the ordinance and the information that hopefully Scans will bring back regarding the other communities and how they implemented the ordinance that they have.
Yeah, that's the same night as 16 acres, but it's before that.
Okay, that sounds good. We like to stay busy, Counselor Allen. No problem there.
16 acres at 7. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
7 o'clock.
I said we like to stay busy, Counselor Allen, so no problem.
There's something we agree on.
Yes, absolutely.
October 15th at 5 is now this ordinance, urban woodlands ordinance. And then 16 acres is at 7 that night.
Yeah, I'm not going to the 16 acres meeting.
No.
I didn't expect you to, but he does. He's
I know
an
he does.
officer
I know.
and I go.
All right, well, thank you all for coming on, for being here. I appreciate it. And I look forward to our next meeting, October 15th at 5 p.m. I'll have Sean send it out, put it on the calendar now.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.